And be patient. Here's my definition, or what I say about patience. Patience is a key sign of maturity. Take your time in these decisions. So that's why, if in the end you decide to take out a student loan and you've thought about it, you've prayed about it, you've talked about it, and you've spent time about it, then maybe it's a good decision. It's just like buying a car. I never thought I was going to buy a $13,000 car because that's not who I was, but we did. And, and it's kind of based on the amount of light, knowledge, and information you have at the time. So if you want to stay in the dark, don't take FPU. But if you want some light and you want to know some options, then educate yourself.
Yeah. Just a side note, I've heard that the trades are the thing to be in right now because they're hurting for people and for help. So if you want to make a ton of money, go be a plumber or an electrician. That's what we're going to encourage our kids to do.
Welcome to the 42 Podcast, where we discuss life together, looking for answers to life, the universe, and, well, everything else. Here are your hosts, Rob and Lindsay. Good morning, Lindsay.
Hey, Rob. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm most excellent. I'm here with my father, Brian Lacombe from Massachusetts.
Good morning, Faja.
Howdy.
But good morning, Brian. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and we have you in as a guest this morning because we're going to hit that final of the three impolite topics to talk about in company of, we've talked politics, we've talked religion, and now we're going to talk money.
Money. Yep.
So
you're...
that's always... Yeah, go for it.
Well, you have been talking about how you're kind of trying to buy a house now?
Yeah, we're working on it. We're trying to get the financial side of things in order to, move forward and buy a house and, not buy a house, but buy where we're living, where we've been renting for the past couple years. So, yeah, that's a fun piece of life.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Dad, how are you?
Very excited. I've not given this much thought this week because there are other things pressing, which is good for me. So, I'm ready.
Want to give a brief synopsis of maybe where you're from or
Sure.
Your experiences with finances?
Sure. Let's see. I was 19 years old when I met Jesus, asked him into my life, read the Bible, and it talked about tithing. So, not knowing any better, I began to tithe and did that for many, many years and continue to do that. Worked really hard at finances, but it was kind of like the tangled up garden hose. How did it get like that? So kind of we were very blessed and prosperous, but didn't have any money. We always had what we needed. God always supplied our need. So at about age 55, Colby ran into Dave Ramsey on Fox News, and next thing you know it, Colby, Lindsay, and Renee and I are watching Dave Ramsey videos and took the course, and completely changed my life. We went from just $16,000 in debt at the time, and paid that off in less than 3 years. We had our debt paid off, $27,000 in the bank, and which is a 6 months emergency fund. And I knew it was going to. I knew at that point it was going to change our lives. And I told Renee, I said, Renee, when we have our 6 months emergency fund, it's going to change our lives. And sure enough, when it hit, we felt free. We felt relieved. Work was more fun. Life was more fun. We moved differently. It was just freedom, And since that time, it's really been an amazing trip to see God bless us abundantly. And so much so that just to give a little testimony is last year we saved through saving cash and our investments $98,000. The year before was about 56, and the year before that was 27,000. So there's actually been about an 85% increase in what we gain each year. And this year I'm expecting to gain $150,000. And all these through very basic biblical principles. And compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, according to Einstein. And once you begin doing these things and develop these habits, that wealth is when your money is making you money. And that amount of money, like $500,000 in the bank, is about $70,000 interest a year. And it's like a freight train going down the tracks. You keep doing the right things, and you'll become very, very wealthy. In just 20 years or so, you begin to be very wealthy.
So, about how old were you then when you started this?
I was 55, and actually now Wednesday I'll be 63. And in that time, we've accumulated by the end of the year about $500,000.
Okay, that's impressive. Now, are you 63? Are you retired? Looking at retirement?
Good question. Here's an interesting fact that's really kind of heavy on my heart is that when you retire, if you don't have a government job or work for the state or something like that, Social Security is going to pay you 40% of what you're making, which is basically going to put people into one level of poverty, or 78% of people live paycheck to paycheck, and they're going to continue to live that way, if not even be poor at retirement. So that's where, like I say, now being able to take some of our interest income and adding that to our Social Security and pensions will give us a comfortable life. So yes, I'll have 21 years at Fitchburg State. They're looking to pass a bill that would add 3 years to my retirement because of a COVID, some bill that's going through. If that goes through, I would probably retire next July with 25 years of service in, and then go on to do other good things.
If I may ask, because I kind of went straight to retirement, what have you done? What was your career?
Interesting. I graduated from high school with a C- average, took a year off, worked in a factory, graduated from Fitchburg State with honors because I got a few clues, learned how to study, fell in love with school, then went on to have a kind of a hard, choppy road of employment. Things God was teaching. God teaches us many, many things, and He has always used work for me. So I lost jobs. It just didn't kind of go well for me. Ended up back doing manual labor. Worked at UPS for a couple of years. Learned a lot there, and so that's kind of been my career path. I went from office environment to blue collar work, but I've always enjoyed work. To me, work is good for the soul. Nothing like sweating, getting dirty, and taking a shower at the end of the day and having a nice meal.
Okay, now, but you're with Fitchburg State now.
Yes.
And what is it that you do with Fitchburg?
I'm in materials management. We do shipping, receiving,
Okay.
inventory, deliveries, things of that nature. Nice variety of things.
Okay, yeah. All right. And so you're looking at having, you said, 40% of your income with retirement, and then supplemented that by what you've gone through and done with the Dave Ramsey stuff to get to a point where you have interest income that you can supplement
Correct.
your retirement with. And all of that you've done over the past, math is always hard for me, but 8 years?
About it's pushing in on 10 years, yeah.
10 years?
Crazy.
Okay.
So you've
Yeah,
done all that.
that is
in
an
10
impressive.
years.
Yes, yeah. And the testimonies that come out of Financial Peace University, they blow us out of the water. There's people that have that have gone, done crazy things, But a part of that is Dave Ramsey brings you up to basic investing. And from there, I did a lot of research, studying, and investing on my own. And that's kind of a learning curve too. But Dave Ramsey teaches you, really, it's soup to nuts, everything you need to know, even if you're not that interested, because usually when it comes to couples, spenders marry savers. Financial Peace University is great for marriages. I've seen it bring marriages back together, and usually people, marriage is one of those, ostrich topics, you put your head in the sand and just keep going, but it's changed people's lives in that area because you communicate, you have a monthly budget meeting and you agree on things that before you just didn't even talk about. And I think that's a big critical thing. And to tell you the truth, that most marriages actually break up because of finances, because when spenders marry savers, it creates bitterness, frustration, anger, builds walls, and separates people. So Financial Peace teaches you how two different people to come together, and it's a beautiful thing.
So Dave Ramsey's program is called what?
Financial Peace University.
And if somebody were interested in educating themselves, where would they look, or how would they get more information?
You can either Google DaveRamsey.com or Financial Peace University, and they do it all soup to nuts from your toddler to high school, college, the military, private sector. It's incredible what they do and that's really like what I do is like when Lindsay asked me to do this podcast, I became emotional. Because helping people is what it's all about. It's to see that you can take people that live paycheck to paycheck and struggle. And I've been there. I've been in bed cursing because of financial pressure, and something my wife wanted and I didn't want. I was cursing, and to see the freedom and the blessing and the amount of money that we're able to give every year, and giving, oh my goodness, if you don't save, you won't have anything to give, and if you don't give, you won't have anything to save. And that's the most fun on the planet, and Dave Ramsey will say it too, is giving, and we've been able to bless so many people with cash, and other blessings, and that's my biggest reward in life in general. Whether I'm cutting somebody's lawn, giving them cash, or anything, it's giving.
Yeah, there is a powerful human connection to just being able to help support, whether it's grace or, well, cash in and of itself is its own unique grace that is there. So yeah, that is huge, and that is something worthy of helping, of seeking to strengthen people with. Now, with this, I'm assuming that you've gone through and you are, I don't remember what they're called, but Financial Peace Planner. You're someone who helps do the course for Dave Ramsey, I'm assuming.
Correct. It's I facilitated 13 classes, and obviously if I was going to facilitate it, then I held myself to the highest standard, and I think that's why, part of the reason why we're at where we are today, because people are good starters and horrible finishers, and if you don't finish this and then continue, because the average American is woefully financially educated. We take what our parents taught us and go from there, which usually isn't good. And this is all so simple. So, yeah.
Yeah, reflecting on that one statement of what our financial education is within America, the only thing I can reflect on from my schooling, my high school education and all of that, is that in 4th grade I was handed a fake checkbook for class, and we were told how to manage our class points to buy stuff at the class store using our checkbook. And that's about where my financial education in the school system begins and ends. So that is a huge shortfall. But I think there's more value in the financial side coming from a family or a church structure or those who will do it in a loving and graceful way rather than just kind of the cold, hard aspects of finance.
Right, because to be honest with you, Dave Ramsey was a finance major. And his testimony, which is in one of his books, is very powerful because he became very rich and wealthy right away through real estate and then lost it all, nearly lost his marriage. And it's heartbreaking, but no one's teaching this stuff. You're not learning it in college. As Dave says, broke professors are teaching you how to do it the world's way. You know, and not that there's different ways to do it. But to me, Dave Ramsey is the foundation. You get the foundation under you, and then you can build your house. But so many people, they're building their house for 20 and 30 years. And they have half a foundation or no foundation, or they're building the chimney before they're supposed to. So, yeah, I have so much to say about Dave Ramsey and financial peace. It's the way to go.
Okay. Now, you had mentioned that one of the things that you got from this is that when you hit that 6-month emergency fund for you and your wife, that you felt a degree of enhanced freedom with your job, with life in general. With that enhanced freedom, I mean, what all did that encompass for you?
Well, it just freed up our cash. I mean, we paid our car off so fast. We had bought a $13,000 Toyota Corolla, which is the best car on the planet, most sold car, so buy one. But Renee always jokes at me when I put that pitch in for Corollas. But it changed the budget. The budget is the key, and most people think a budget is a list of your bills, and but it's not. And Dave Ramsey does a zero-based budget, which means you take your income less your giving and all your expenses for the month. And then what's left over, that's what you pay your debt up with. That's what you invest with. But then it's also honing your budget, because if you're, or knowing where your money is going, because, people have been spending, $100, $200, $300 a month on eating out. So it's really like treating your life like a business and getting a hold of your money and where it's going. Because to be honest with you, it only takes about $45,000 a year to become a millionaire over about 20 or 30 years. It doesn't take a lot of money. It just takes doing the right things and disciplining yourself. As Americans, we don't really use cash. We just swipe. And the average household debt in America, believe it or not, is $50,000. And that's not counting the mortgage. So, and the average overall debt is around $270,000. And that wouldn't be so bad if that number was going down. But it's usually just going up, and all of our own ideas, getting the new credit card with 0%, all the ways of fixing it don't work. It has to go back to fundamentals. And, and another thing is there's 3 reasons why Americans are broke. It's too much house, too much car, and too much student loan debt. So it's all basic stuff. All basic stuff. And it's kind of like revelation. Like we need, sometimes revelation is just simple things and doing them.
So let's say we are massively in debt. What's the first thing we should do?
Pray. Yeah, it's communicate, hold hands, cry, hope, plan, think. Stop, and ask for help, and that's where I come in. That's where Dave Ramsey comes in, because, believe it or not, I kind of say that I have my black belt in personal basic finances, that, I can help. Dave Ramsey can help. And the thing is, I've had people in my class that just retired that after they took the class were like wowed and thanked me so much for what they've learned. I've had business owners take the class and say, wow, thank you so much for what I've learned. I've had wealthy people with all kinds of toys take the class and say, thank you so much, because there's so many facets other than money that we cover in Financial Peace University. From life insurances and how to buy a house, how to buy cars, anything and everything that has to do with money and has to do with even, disability insurance and short-term, long-term. It covers it all. It's really cool.
So it's kind of hard to not bring this up with talking money and faith and kind of what the balance between those two are. And I guess this is a good question and point to sit at and maybe discuss a little bit. But Scripture tells us in 1 Timothy 6:10, where, the love of money is the root of all evil. And where does that fit in then with even building wealth and building, looking towards paychecks, looking towards the finance that we have as individuals? How is there a balance between having wealth and then having, or falling into that trap of the love of money?
Yeah.
Hello there. I'm interrupting this podcast, not to sell you anything per se, but to thank you for listening to the 42 podcast and being a part of the experience. Here at the 42, Rob and I love to hear from our listeners and are always excited to hear suggestions, feedback, and comments. If you want to participate, there are a few ways you can do so. You can support us by rating and reviewing the show, and of course recommending us to your friends, family, bank teller, car mechanic, whomever. Do you have something in particular that you'd like us to discuss? Or maybe you'd like to actually be on the show to discuss a particular thing, or set us straight about something we got wrong or didn't fully suss out to your satisfaction. You can email us at badtheologyproductions@gmail.com. I really appreciate your taking the time to include us in your busy day.
Good question. It's a deep question too. I think we're all going to struggle a little bit with the love of money, but I think it's really in. So I think the love of the money. Like, look at the culture. I mean, the money is the root of all evil as you look at the culture, because you have all the hoodlums on TV, they have all the money. You have all the people that lie, cheat, and steal, they have all the money. So obviously money must be bad. But what Dave says is money is like a brick. You can build a hospital with it, or you can throw it through your neighbor's window, So it's the heart. And one of the cures for greed, and like I said, we've all had greed in our heart, is giving. Giving is part of the antidote for greed. And I have to say that there are times I do struggle with giving, because sometimes I'll look at it and I go, holy cow, do you see how much money I'm giving every month? That's a lot of money. But yet, if I look at the blessings in my life that just came out of almost thin air, we bought a house for $60,000 and sold half the land for $50,000. To me, that was God's paycheck to us, My wife is getting a big, huge for us cash pension. We didn't put anything into it, just for being there. She get that has God's signature all over it. And what you sow is what you reap, and we reap generosity. So becoming a half millionaire by the end of this year, that has God written all over it, and is, yeah. like what I say is anybody can just give, but there's miracle working power in tithing, and I know for some that's bondage and that's the law. And, but I say start wherever you are. It's just like, oh, well, gee, do you need to take this Christian financial program? It's like I say to anybody, if you need to go to AA, go to AA. If you want to go to a Christian AA, then whatever works, do it, But, so, and I've invited people to take Financial Peace that weren't Christians, and I just said, well, Dave doesn't really make a big deal out of the Christian part. That's kind of the thing I liked about it, because it's a little bit downplayed. It's not all, ooey gooey Christian stuff, but there's enough to let you know that God's the eternal source of all good things, and love and prosperity. And you can't give what you don't have, and I haven't received hardly any negative feedback in my 7 or 8 years of doing FPU, and I always expected it. Like your hard question is like, I've been there before, but what were the answers? I don't remember, So, but it really is a God thing. It's so beautiful to give, to bless people, to free. Because really what it is, doesn't the Bible teach us how to be set free from sin, sickness, disease, poverty, and all the curse of the law? And I believe to some degree that poverty is a curse. And what my brother said, who's a millionaire, he said, I think everybody should start out with nothing and work their way up. And so, okay, Rob, how was that?
No, that was good. And there's truth to that statement, starting with nothing and working your way up, because I think within the confines of original creation, there's a blessing in the work. Now, that work has also become cursed to a degree, and
yes.
There's a greater conversation on that. But there's a blessing in the work that was given to us in the garden to maintain, to grow, to name. But there's also something else, and I'm going to pull it into that kind of allegory. And there's no greater person for allegory than Tolkien. I think you'll appreciate this, Lindsay, where in The Hobbit, there's dragon sickness, that desire to continue to hoard. But everything of old that the dwarves, that Thorin was looking towards, was this community that was built around a shared wealth, a shared community that had. And I think that's kind of the point of Scripture is when we give, we build a community, whether it's in our church or in the communities that we give to and that we try to encourage to grow together. But when we hoard, when we keep to ourselves, and when we have, it does nothing but rot us, because enough is never enough. And that's a phrase that my wife and I have used in, our thick and thin moments where, God's enough for us has to be enough. Because he's the one who's got everything charted and everything planned out, and he will guide ultimately. But we also seek to, what's the best wisdom to grow, to be financially stable, to be there and help and assist with our kids. And
that's powerful stuff. And what comes to my mind is godliness with contentment is great gain. And what we need to do, no matter where we are in our financial lives, is to be content right now. And that takes some meditation, some thought, maybe some journaling, some inward thought. Because if we're not content right now in every way, shape, and form, then we'll never be content, because it's just a moving goal. So that's very important.
And there is a degree of contentment that does move with, and I think, again, there's the aspect of walking that razor's edge of falling into the love of money and greed, and then falling into giving and building community. And there's a degree of contentment that is on both sides, but the contentment towards greed is never enough. There's always something that's shinier, the latest toy, the latest version, the latest whatever. And in giving towards contentment in community, it's sitting and being with people, sitting and being in community. And the contentment found in that isn't fulfillment of having the latest and greatest. It's having the people around you. It's having that community around you. So,
yeah.
Sorry, community building is part of what I always look at of where and how and what we're doing as a church, as people, as individuals. So.
And I think that's the freedom of, getting out of debt, for instance, or starting to save money, because I just remember that feeling of utter helplessness when, we run out of oil, in February and it's freezing and we just feel like helpless. And I hated that. And so having a couple grand in the bank, and trying to making an effort gives a lot of freedom, so that when you hear your friend's washing machine broke, you can bless them with a washing machine. That's one of my favorite things about having, money is being able to bless people and have power to help people.
Okay. So, with all of that, you guys have talked about how this has changed your lives, how doing the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University has allowed you to grow and build a security for you, for your families. What would you desire or seek for others to, a key takeaway out of all of this?
A key takeaway?
Like something practical?
Something practical, something to begin with, to keep walking with, or to look towards as a finishing goal. I mean, interestingly, we have Brian, you who, you're a couple years away from retirement. You're talking about the security that you have. Lindsay, you who, you've got not a few more years till retirement. You've got a family you're growing and raising, and what the piece that has been brought to you by the pieces of this, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I said too many pieces
in there. I think so. Was that a question?
What the core takeaway would be for anyone listening or
good.
Going through this or looking to go through this or in the midst of massive debt?
The word that comes to my mind is gift. Who doesn't like to receive a gift? But if you're like me, giving is more fun. But that's what this is. I mean, if you looked at it this way, so I invested $150 because I bought the expensive video course, and we're basically turned it into almost $500,000. And so FPU is a gift. It's almost like why reinvent the wheel or reinvent anything when it's already been said and done. And like I've been doing this for like 10 years, and I've read lots of other people and lots of other things and listened to many things. And this is the gift. This is the foundation. And I've had to beg people to take it. I can't tell you how many times we've paid for people to take it. And so it's in a sense it's a free gift for, I think nowadays you can pick up the gift for like $100, $120 because everything's online, so they're not spending too much money down there at FPU for you. It really is a gift, and that's why it's the gift that keeps giving. That's why I did 13 classes. But a little bit of a sad thing on that is my last class, well, I had one person in it. I couldn't find anybody interested in changing their lives. And so I retired. And then another church outside of, that was all my home church, another church asked me to come out of retirement and share with them. And so I did. And that was a nice full room of people that were hungry and eager for freedom and the truth. And so that was the last class I did. Now I kind of do it on a person-to-person basis and given opportunities, sometimes just to share the gospel of financial peace with the UPS driver or whoever. And I like to write. I actually wrote a track called Shout It from the Rooftops, and I'd give that out just to whet people's appetite and to know what's possible.
All right, so another question for you, Brian, with this. You said about, Financial Peace University has been something that you have stood by, that you teach, but you've also gone through and read others who have created similar financial planning and wealth building curriculums.
Right.
What's the advantage over Financial Peace University or against other monetary advancing curriculum?
Good question. Like there's people out there like Susie Orman. There's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, who's I read his book, powerful book to learn different ideas and different thoughts. Because I think what it is when you have a good foundation, then you can look and listen at other things and go, why that might not be good. And there's always different perspectives and different ways of even attaining great wealth. But it's almost like you have the foundation, you know what works. And so when you hear something that doesn't work, it's kind of like the Bible, you know where there's error or possible error, or let's get into this more. Let's try and understand this more. So I've learned and grown from reading other people's stuff, but nothing compares. And the foundation from the foundation. So, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I forget the author's name, taught me powerful things. And nowadays, if you listen to that author, some of his ideas, they sound really crazy, and you almost gotta listen to him more and find out what he's saying. But he's pretty radical ideas. And a lot of people out there, and even the news is mostly noise. All the advertisements on day trading and so much of it is just garbage, because if you don't have the fundamentals of a budget, and such as that of saving and stuff, then anything and everything you try is not going to work,
So savings is a key part of what you do, have done, and what is part of Financial Peace University.
Sure, because what happens is you got that $50,000 worth of consumer debt, and you're $800 to $1,200 a month paying for that. So within about 3 years, that can be paid off. And now you're saving $800 to $1,200 a month. Now, if you start doing some compound interest tables and listen to this, Dave Ramsey, financial investment calculator, Google it, it'll change your life. You'll begin to see that, like even for both of you right now, $500 a month will radically change your destiny and your children's destiny and change your family tree. Or even, if you have $5,000 worth of cash, starting with that and then building like compound interest will boggle your mind. The human mind can understand adding, subtracting, and addition. Some can, mine doesn't. But your human mind cannot understand compound interest. What putting $1,000 in a bank account when your kid's born, what that's going to be worth in 40 or 50 or 60 years, you'll boggle your mind. So saving $200 a month, what that will do in 20 or 30 years will boggle your mind.
Sorry, on this, my father is a CPA and
What's that?
Certified public accountant.
Cool.
He does multi-million-dollar budgets for a school district, and he's actually retiring out of that. But anyway, I'm laughing because of me, of all of my siblings, I'm the one that's horrible with math. Even, the addition and subtraction takes
yes,
me a
me
minute.
Too.
So it's just, I do understand that where it does it just continues to grow on itself. It's a seed planted effectively for, if you do the 1,000 for your kids in a bank account, that seed planted for them can drastically change grandkids and great-grandkids' lives. But again, that compounding, that how it works, it does kind of takes me a minute to wrap my head around that with the numbers. So yes, that it is interesting and challenging how there is a multiplication, not just to putting and saving money, but also to how there is in the debt side of money with
Right.
the interest charged on. And my wife's car broke down, and we weren't in a position where we wanted to do this, but we had to, of buying her a new car. So we actually went out and we bought a Toyota. We didn't buy a Camry, or no, we didn't buy a Corolla. We bought the Camry.
Best cars on the planet.
And we got a hybrid, which has been a huge saver in gas for us. Just being able to travel and fill that thing up once a month. But, playing out the numbers with getting the car that we needed. We didn't buy a new car. We bought a good old car. Not old car. It's 8. But, what that interest looks like stacked up, where paying it out in the 6-year period will be another $2,000 to $3,000 on top of the tag price that we paid. And it's just, there's a game to finance that is that compound interest stacked against you for debt, stacked for you for savings, and kind of where we go with it. So yes,
Rob, can I say this? That if you're
go for it.
If you're under 30 years old, every new car or new car price, that you buy is costing you $1 million. And the way I say that, so let's say that you had the money cash to not buy new, but to buy a good used car. And if you took that payment that you were going to make and then put that in the bank for that was, we'll say 60 months. So, and let's say that was $30,000. So then if you let that $30,000 ride, not add anything to it till you're, say, 62, 65, it's pretty close to $1 million.
Yeah, and that's... Yeah, we weren't in a position to buy outright.
Right.
We put down as much as we could, and that was a fun headache just with what that will be, how long we're stuck with that payment, and how we're working to pay that down as quick as we can. But
yeah,
that's a game I know I lost with what that interest will be for us. Not entirely, but still, it's not something I'm like, yay.
Yeah.
So, but yes, compounding interest can be a huge factor in limiting or building what we do.
Right. Like debt is not sin. It's just maybe it's like overeating, or that's gluttony. But as much debt as we can eliminate is a powerful tool for us. Enough said.
Yeah. So, if I can ask kind of a semi-loaded question.
Cool.
Yeah.
He's a minister.
Yeah, I don't have loaded questions at all. But with the current... This is more opinion-based, I guess. With the current kind of system that we have of pushing and leaning hard towards getting an education, having at a minimum a bachelor's degree, what value do you see in education, which at the current rate of things most people are going into debt for, against having a trade? Or having something that you can immediately start working towards making money with?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the older I get, the more I change. Where I used to think a little bit of debt was okay, and like I said, debt's not sin, but it takes a lot of thought and counsel. Talk to different people before you do things. But I think there's always other options. It's just like I say. When do you think God's going to rescue? The next time you swipe the plastic? No, he's going to rescue when you draw a line in the sand and say, no more. I'm never borrowing money again. That's when you run out of gas on $4.95 with 2 kids in car seats. And that's when God's going to meet you. When you draw a line in the sand and say, no more. And there's the Army, National Guard. There's going to night school, going to day school. There's so many opportunities that if you wait on God and be patient. Here's my definition, or what I say about patience. Patience is a key sign of maturity. Take your time in these decisions. So that's why, if in the end you decide to take out a student loan and you've thought about it, you've prayed about it, you've talked about it, and you've spent time about it, then maybe it's a good decision. It's just like buying a car. I never thought I was going to buy a $13,000 car because that's not who I was, but we did. And, and it's kind of based on the amount of light knowledge and information you have at the time. So if you want to stay in the dark, don't take FPU, but if you want some light and you want to know some options, then educate yourself.
Yeah. Just a side note, I've heard that the trades are the thing to be in right now because they're hurting for people and for help. So if you want to make a ton of money, go be a plumber or an electrician. That's what we're going to encourage our kids to do.
So my brother-in-law is he's a plumber.
Oh my goodness.
And
they make more than lawyers.
He's in his early 20s, and yeah, he's cleaning house. I picked the wrong career field. I mean, he's making like 3 or 4 times what I'm making, and it's just, yeah, no, I think dealing with people's crap is probably a lot easier than, okay, well, anyway, moving on.
Than dealing with people's crap.
Yeah, exactly. It's just which version, okay. But I do love my job. In all fairness, I love my job, and I didn't pick it because I knew it would make me wealthy. I picked it because I knew it would be community building and graceful and something that would be a greater testament to the kingdom with my giftings than being a plumber. Still wish I became a plumber, though. But yeah, I mean, the trades are cleaning house right now with what they're bringing in, what their salaries are, and if you can do it, if you have the patience and the skill to be a tradesman, yeah. I mean, that's something that we've encouraged with our kids of, don't feel like you need to go and get a college education. Just figure out what you're good at, and if college is required, fine, but do what you're good at, do what brings in an income for you. Yeah. So... Yep. Now, they're all of 9 and 11, so, they've got a few more years before that, but
as parents, aren't we, constantly ooh, what is that skill, sort of hinting at? I do that.
Well, and it's fair to say that, for me, I grew up in that generation where college was expected.
Yeah.
I was the end of it because when I would have graduated college if I didn't take the long, weird route I did. That was 2008 when all of the markets crashed and the job market just tanked out. And you had people with great degrees flipping burgers at McDonald's, if they were lucky. So there has been a good shift towards a balance of trade and education, I think. And it is an interesting and hard balance of what do you do to get the education financially, and what do you do to then pay for that education afterwards? Where will your degree actually pay for the amount of education you needed?
Yeah.
So all right. We've been at this for a good bit. We've had some good conversation. I want to take a moment and let's just have a couple minutes of fun questions, some goofy, lighthearted stuff, if there are no objections.
Cool.
Cool? All right. Brian, because this question has been on my head for a week because of what we talked about last week. If you could go on your dream vacation anywhere, where would you go?
Maybe I think about Hawaii, but it wouldn't have to be Hawaii, but it'd have to be tropical. And I've always just had this picture of the sandy beach, the water, the umbrella, the books, the maitre d' on the phone, and just chilling. I love just chilling on the beach. running into that cold water and then coming back out and sunbathing and just real chilling. Thank you. Nice question.
Actually, you reminded me of something. So a part of what Lindsay and I go back and forth with occasionally is kind of geeking out over books. And I'm assuming part of Lindsay's love of reading came from you. What's a favorite book you have read?
Favorite book?
Like a guilty pleasure book where you're on that beach and you just want to read something to enjoy. What are you taking?
It's interesting because I don't do any fiction. I don't do any entertainment reading. I don't even do classics. I'm a real motivational reader. I read how to make my life better, how to be better. I eat that stuff up. That's my go-to. So when I'm reading, I'm adding to my skill, who I am. That's the type of reading I like to do. And book off the top of my head, I'll mention this one. David Goggins, You Can't Hurt Me, is just an example. I mean, he's got a lot of foul language in it, but it was just a powerful book on someone who transformed his life, So I'm into transforming.
All right, you brought up foul language, so I have to ask. I'm assuming you've listened to the episodes Lindsay and I have done. How'd you feel with the swear word episode?
I did not hear that one. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, that's fair. Yeah, a handful of people I've talked to are a little bit behind, but that has been one of our still most popular episodes. A few people from church who know I've been doing this were like, "Ooh, you're doing that? I have to listen because I can't picture you swearing." So there we go.
Yeah, I think swearing has its place, especially actually for me, it's in personal motivation. Sometimes I'll just swear at myself or, I mean, in movies, I can handle it in certain types of situations. Yeah.
Well, and that is part of what we tried to find and discuss in that episode. Just what is the balance of swearing against just being vulgar for no reason.
Right.
And I have to ask, your shirt, I turn wood into things?
What does it say, Lindsay?
I turn wood into things. What's your superpower?
So, all right, what's that? Carpentry on the side for fun? You do wood turning?
Well, I'll tell you how it started. Actually, I'm a giver. And at one point, I was making wood products, and people said, go in business. I tried it. It was pressure. It was stress. Everything's got to be perfect. It was no fun. And actually, I told God, I said, "Oh, okay, God, I like to give things, and maybe it's more about giving than wood." But I said, I'm going to give things away, and you bless me. And so now I make coffee tables, bookcases, and things like that. A lot of times just to bless people for no reason, and other times as gifts. And there's nothing like getting a handcrafted item, and people that don't I've been doing this for 20, 25 years, so I've gotten some skill, but people that don't know wood joinery and carpentry and all that, they see anything I make and they just think it's awesome. So so it's another way that I give.
No, and that's awesome. There's a beauty to forming and shaping something, anything.
Creating.
Whether it's wood or not,
Yeah.
and creating with your hands. There is a beauty to that. So, I can respect that. So, well, that's excellent. Did we get a kid?
Yeah, we got a kid.
Is Daddy sending you up here?
There's a kid in the sound room.
We occasionally get that. Well, actually, we made it almost an hour without that. That's actually great. So, it has been great having, working with and having Lindsay on with this and, well, building this podcast with her. And it's been great having you on as well with today and talking a little bit about money and financial peace and, yeah, what that has been for you guys.
Yeah.
So.
It's been tons of fun. my one of my gifts is the passion I have for it and sharing it.
He has the gift of enthusiasm.
And
Yes, I have the gift of enthusiasm, and actually, I found out that that's been my problem all my life, is I've been way too enthusiastic.
that's okay. We all need to have something that gets us going, that gets us excited.
Yes.
So, but again, that's the grace of community, where each of us is gifted in a different way, and when we draw those together and when we grow together, we build something that is more than us.
Yeah.
So, and there's the beautiful sentiment, and not sentiment. There's the phrase of you can't take it with you.
Yeah.
But I think the community we build here is something that we can take with us. It's a reflection of heaven and more eternal and graceful than any piece of what we physically build of our empires.
Yeah.
So, and that is part of the beauty of financial peace, where it's about building community, about giving, not just hoarding, about growing, not just maintaining.
Mm.
So, okay. Do you have any questions for me?
Do I or Lindsay?
Well, it's just interesting how it relates to your Yoda quote from last week of, what is it? We are what they grow beyond. And I think that's what we want to do with our finances is, kind of give them something to jump off of, or at least, a net in the background. So when they do, because I like the idea of them fighting for what they have and starting with nothing and having egg crate furniture or secondhand. I think it makes you who you are. It develops your character in a way that just getting handed everything doesn't. But at the same time, mom and dad are there and they're pretty well off, and you have something to look forward to. Anyway, those are my...
Yeah, but the dark side of that is all, just die already so I can have my inheritance.
Ouch! There's no guarantees. Rob, I have a question for you. Okay, so we've chatted for about an hour or so. Is there anything that's percolating in your heart from our conversations?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, I have to think about this. Mel and I did... it had to be about 8 years ago. She and I did the Financial Peace University course.
Cool.
With friends of ours who were running it at a different church. And it is something that we have tried to continue and maintain in our lives as we've grown. But where we have been is that we're also... Sorry, math in my head. For 9 years, one of us has been in college doing our education at the same time. So we've been trying to be as proactive about paying that as we can, because I have my master's degrees now, and my wife is finishing her master's degrees. So it's looking towards the end of those master's degrees and the changes that we will have for our careers and our financial status, but also, being proactive about trying to build that $1,000 emergency fund, the 6 months of emergency fund. And we've been walking that razor's edge. We're getting closer towards that, and we were looking at 2022 towards being a lot of that, because we would have cleared some things out in 2022, but taking the house on. Yeah. It's step forwards and step backwards. Everybody's been there, and that's
yes, absolutely.
And with taking the house on, it'll be a step backwards, but it'll be because it was 12 months ahead of time if we buy the house. So, but again, that's also looking and saying God's got us. There's a reason that these timings come up. So for us, we're trusting in God's just enough.
Amen. I do want to share maybe one last point, and to me it's a critical point, And I mentioned the budget. The budget is your roadmap. Without a roadmap, you have no idea where you're going. You don't even know when you're going to arrive. So the next thing is what I call, and it's actually not a part of Dave Ramsey, although Dave Ramsey touches on it, but I call it the end of the month financial report. And what that is a simple assets minus liabilities equals net worth. And that is how I've been able to know exactly how much money I've gained or lost each and every month for the last 5 or 6 years. So that's how I know 3 years ago we made $27,000. How the year after that it was $58,000, because each and every month I do assets minus liabilities equals net worth. And also what I do on that page is I keep track of all the money that we give away, whether it be church, wedding gifts, birthday gifts, and everything. That just kind of keeps me happy about my giving, and how much we give makes me feel good about myself. And I get geeky about it. I even do percentages, like how much percentage are we giving away, or how much percentage did we save. I can get real geeky about it sometimes. And that is my reward at the end of every month. And, in investing and putting your money in the S&P 500 index fund or mutual funds or stocks, you're going to have 5 good months and 1 bad month, So there have been times that we've lost $20,000 in a month, but there are months that we've made $30,000. So, but overall, you're going to make around 12% or more. So when I see that end of the month, last month, and I'm not ashamed or afraid to mention numbers, because people have to know this is reality. Last month we made $11,000. So a couple months before that, we lost quite a bit of money. We lost $19,000. So it's being patient. It's understanding investing. It's kind of a little bit like a roller coaster. Everybody likes going up, and when you go down, your stomach feels a little queasy. It still happens to me, but that's part of being patient. And the education that you learn with FPU and beyond FPU will help you understand that. Like overall, the market's going to do about 12%, depending on how you listen to. And that's where you can take the financial tools, investment calculator, and figure out what your $200 a month is going to equal out after 30 years. So I would encourage everybody to, if you're going to do financial peace, if you're going to do a budget, get that reward at the end of the month. And everybody's got to pay rent or mortgage, so I don't include that debt, because that can be a little bit of a discouragement, So I don't include my house mortgage or my as part of that thing, and that's going to be a great encouragement to anybody.
Okay. This has been good.
It's been fun.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, well, and that's...
And you didn't cry that much.
So. I didn't cry that much. I cry when I'm happy, and I cry when I'm sad, so it's kind of tough.
She threw you right under the bus with that one. That's all right.
It's been good, though.
So
thank you very much for the opportunity.
And absolutely, thank you for coming on. Thank you for having this discussion. And part of why we're in this spot right now is we're talking about the family side of things and finance, and how we afford kids, how we afford life, how we afford anything.
All right.
So yeah, this has been excellent.
Cool.
So
I changed your mind. You can edit.
I can edit? Okay. That's fine. Send me the feeds.
I will.
But all right, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah.
God bless you, Rob. God bless you and your family.
Hey. And you as well.
Thank you.
So, all right, we'll catch you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We did it.
Cool.
Thank you for listening to the 42 podcast. Please take a moment to like and subscribe, and if you want to join in on the conversation, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter to add your voice to the conversation. Thank you.